Hello everyone, I'm Mandara. I'm back again with the genetics part 3 video. So in this video we are going to talk about the non-Mendelian inheritance patterns. So what do you mean by non-Mendelian inheritance patterns? These are the inheritance patterns in which the alleles do not segregate according to the Mendelian inheritance. So phenotypes that do not appear in the ratios predicted by the Mendelian genetics are the indicators of non-Mendelian inheritance. So it's like this. If we conduct a monohybrid cross or a dihybrid cross to an organism with non-Mendelian inheritance, it would not give out the same ratio as Mendel's monohybrid cross or Mendel's dihybrid cross. So we would not obtain a 3:1 ratio or a 9:3 to 3:1 ratio in these non-Mendelian inheritance patterns. So that is how we identify whether this allele follows Mendelian inheritance or non-Mendelian inheritance. So let's look at some examples of non-Mendelian inheritance. So the first one is where alleles are not completely dominant or recessive. So you guys know that in Mendelian inheritance, at heterozygous state, the dominant allele is able to completely mask the expression of the recessive allele and only give out the dominant trait. So in non-Mendelian inheritance, there are instances where the dominant allele is unable to mask the expression of the recessive allele at heterozygous state. Okay, so there are two instances given. The first one is incomplete dominance and the other one is codominance. Then we move on to the second one. Second one is a particular gene has more than two alleles. So in Mendelian inheritance, for a particular character, there are only two alleles. One is the dominant allele and the other is the recessive allele. So there are instances where a single gene can have more than two alleles. There can be 3 or 4 alleles. So this instance is known as polyallelism. So in Mendelian inheritance, a single gene gives out only a single character. But in pleiotropy, we can find instances where single gene can produce multiple phenotypes. So we are not going to discuss about pleiotropy in this video. You will get to know more about pleiotropy in the fourth video. And then the fourth one, 2 or more genes involved in determining a particular phenotype. So in here this means that one phenotype is determined by more than one allele. So examples for this are epistasis and polygenic inheritance. We will talk about them in this video. And the fifth one is gene linkage. So gene linkage, I think you guys can remember that in the Mendel's second law of inheritance, the law of independent assortment, we said that it was applicable only to 2 instances. The second instance was where genes are located far apart of the same chromosome. So we say far apart because of this gene linkage instance. So we'll talk more about this in this video. Then the sixth one is genes located in sex chromosomes. So there is an unequal distribution of genes in the male and female sex chromosomes. So the inheritance patterns are different from the Mendelian inheritance. We will talk about this in the fourth video. So let's move on to the first non-Mendelian inheritance pattern, that is incomplete dominance. So first of all, we must get to know the difference between complete dominance and incomplete dominance. So complete dominance is the phenomenon in which the dominant allele is able to completely mask the recessive phenotype and give out similar phenotypes at homozygous dominant state and heterozygous state. So that means like this, giving out the same phenotype for homozygous dominant state and heterozygous state. Both of these genotypes give out the same phenotype total. Okay, and what is meant by incomplete dominance? So incomplete dominance is the phenomenon in which a blended phenotype is given out from the both alleles at heterozygous state. So let's look at an example to get a good understanding of this. So the example taken here is the flower color of the Mirabilis jalapa plant, commonly known as the 4 o'clock plant, in Sinhala, which is known as the Hendrika plant. So we consider three flower colors: red, pink and white. So when we cross a red flowered plant with a white flowered plant, we obtain pink flowered plants. So pink is a blend of the red and white colors. So this occurs due to having lesser red color pigments than the original red flowered plants. So let's take a look at the cross. So in here, neither allele is dominant. We can't say that the red colored allele is dominant or the white colored allele is dominant. So we don't use uppercase letters or lowercase letters to denote like this or this. We don't use like this in incomplete dominance. We use them as superscripts. Capital R for red color, capital W for white color, and use capital C to denote color. So then we have parental generation, where there are red flowered plants are crossed into white flowered plants. Red flowered plants are denoted by C capital R, C capital R, R, R. White flowered plants are denoted by capital W. And then we write down the gametes. Always remember to circle the gametes. CR, CW, 100%. And then crossing occurs and the F1 generation is obtained. CR, CW, which is 100% pink flowered plants. So in here the blended phenotype is given out. And then we cross the F1 generation with each other. CR-CW is crossed with CR-CW, and then we write down the gametes. There are two gametes, CR and CW, in both 50%. And then we write out the F2 generation by using the Punnett square. So there are 4 genetic combinations. CR gives out RR, that means red. RW gives out pink. Again RW gives out pink. WW gives out white color. And then we can write down the phenotypic ratios. So here 1 red flowered plant, 2 pink flowered plants and 1 white flowered plant. So the phenotypic ratio is 1 to 2 to 1. And then we can write down the genotypic ratio. There are 3 different genotypic combinations: CR-CR, CR-CW and CW-CW. The ratio is 1 to 2 to 1. So this is the incomplete dominance. So you can observe that the ratio is different from the Mendel's monohybrid cross, where the ratio was 3 to 1. Then we move on to the next inheritance pattern, which is codominance. So in codominance, the expression of both alleles contribute equally to the phenotype at the heterozygous state. So you will understand it more by looking at this example. So the example given here is the determination of A, B and AB blood groups in organisms. So we say an organism has A blood group when the A carbohydrate is present on its red blood cell surface. We say an organism has B blood group when B carbohydrate is present on its red blood cell surface. We say an organism has AB blood group when both A and B carbohydrates are present on the red blood cell surface. And what about the O blood group? We say a person has O blood group when they have neither A nor B carbohydrates on the surface of the red blood cell. We'll talk about O blood group in the next inheritance pattern. For now, we'll talk about A, B and AB blood groups. So codominance is shown in AB blood group. So let's take a look at this. Here IA allele, IA is the allele that carries only A carbohydrates on RBC. IB is the allele that carries only B carbohydrates on RBC. So just like in incomplete dominance, we won't use uppercase letters and lowercase letters. We use superscripts, and then we take a look at the parental generation. Parental generation IA, an organism having A blood group. The other parental generation is IB, an organism having B blood group. So then we cross these two by taking the gametes. Here the gamete is IA 100%. Here the gamete is IB 100%. So after crossing, we obtain the F1 generation. IA, IB. Here, codominance is displayed. IA allele, which carries only A carbohydrates on RBC, and IB allele, which carries only B carbohydrates on RBC, contributes equally to the phenotype of the organism and gives out AB blood group where both A carbohydrate and B carbohydrate can be found. This is what is meant by codominance. And then we cross the F1 generation with another organism of the F1 generation, and then we write down the gametes IA, IB 50%, IA, IB 50%, 50%. And then we can write down the F2 generation by using Punnett square. So then we have 4 genetic combinations. IA gives out IA, AA gives out A blood group, AB gives out AB blood group, AB again gives out AB blood group, BB gives out B blood group. Then we can write down the phenotypic ratio. Phenotypic ratios are A to AB to B, 1 to 2 to 1. And then we can write down the genotypic ratio, IA to IB to IB to IB. The genotypic ratio is 1 to 2 to 1. So this genotypic ratio is again deviated from the Mendelian monohybrid cross ratio, which is 3 to 1. So then we should talk about the difference between incomplete dominance and codominance. So if we consider the phenotypic and genotypic ratios in the F2 generation, both are similar. Phenotypic ratio is 1 to 2 to 1. Genotypic ratio is also 1 to 2 to 1 in both situations. So how do we differentiate these two? So then we should look at the F1 generation. Phenotype gives out the phenotype pink. Okay, this is a blended phenotype of the parent phenotypes. In here, the example we took is the blood groups. So IA and IB are the parental gametes. These two join to form the IA-IB genotype, which gives out the phenotype AB blood group. So in here, IA allele and IB allele contributes equally for this phenotype. Key to differentiate between incomplete dominance and codominance is the fact that in incomplete dominance, a different phenotype from the parental phenotypes is given. So the parental phenotypes are red and white, but the given phenotype was pink color, which is a completely different phenotype from the parental phenotypes. In codominance, what happens is both the parental phenotypes are displayed. In here, both IA and IB phenotypes are expressed. So that is the key. So the next pattern is polyallelism. This is a phenomenon where certain traits are determined by the combination of more than 2 types of alleles. Polyallelism is the determination of ABO blood group in humans. The determination of ABO blood group in humans is determined by 3 types of alleles: IA, IB and simple I allele. So these 3 alleles combine in different ways to give out different blood groups. So in a diploid organism, there can be only 2 of these 3 alleles. All 3 alleles are not present. One allele is received from the mother, the other allele is received from the father. So there cannot be all 3 alleles present in one human being. So let's take a look at the cross. As mentioned before, IA is the allele that carries A carbohydrates on RBC. IB is the allele that carries B carbohydrate on RBC. And simple I is the allele that denotes the absence of A and B carbohydrates. It denotes the situation where we cannot find neither A carbohydrate nor B carbohydrate on the surface of a red blood cell. So simple I is considered as a recessive allele to capital IA, capital IB dominant alleles. And you should also keep in mind that IA and IB are in a codominant relationship. We talked about that in the previous pattern. So in here, in the parental generation, we have capital IA, homozygous dominant condition crossed with simple I, homozygous recessive condition. Then we check out the gametes. Here 100% IA gametes are formed. Here simple I 100% gametes are formed. These two combined form capital IA simple I genotype which gives out the phenotype A blood group in the F1 generation. So how did this become? How did this give out the A blood group? Here simple I is a recessive value. Capital IA acts as the dominant allele. Therefore, it masks the expression of the simple I allele and gives out only its expression, which is giving the A blood group. So here also what happens is simple I is the recessive allele. So it is masked by the dominant allele capital IB, and the dominant trait is given out. The dominant trait is giving out the B blood group. And then we cross the F1 generation with the F1 generation. IA simple I is crossed with IB simple I. And then we write down the gametes. Alleles are separated. 50% IA gametes, 50% simple I gametes, 50% IB gametes, 50% simple I gametes are given. And then we find out the F2 generation by drawing the Punnett square. So here we get the IA-IB genotype which gives out the phenotype AB blood group. So this is the instance of codominance that we explained before. Then in the next one we have capital IB with simple I. This is what we explained here. So it gives out B blood group. Here capital IA simple I, this gives out A blood group. And here we get the homozygous recessive condition, two simple I alleles. So simple I denotes the absence of A and B carbohydrates. The absence of A and B carbohydrates gives out the O blood group. And then we can write out the phenotypic ratio. So the four possible phenotypes are there: A, B, B, A and O in the ratio 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. The genotypic ratio is also the same: IA, IB, IBI, IAI and simple I, simple I. The ratio is 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. We are going to discuss about the possible genotypes in ABO blood grouping. So if we consider the A blood group, there are two possible genotypes: capital IA genotype and the capital IA simple I genotype. So we talked about this. Simple I is recessive allele to capital IA, which is the dominant allele here. So the dominant trait A is given out. So in here B blood group, there are also two possible genotypes: capital IB and capital IB simple I. So in here also simple I allele act as the recessive allele, capital IB act as the dominant allele and masks the expression of the recessive allele and gives out its trait B blood group. So AB blood group only has one genotype, that is IA-IB. So this is the instance where codominance acts. We mentioned earlier that capital IA allele has a codominant relationship with the capital IB allele. So therefore they exist equally in this AB blood group phenotype. And then we come to the O blood group, homozygous recessive condition. There is only one genotype, and that gives out the O blood group. So here we can observe that there are more than two types of alleles. Capital IA, capital IB and simple I is present, and certain traits are determined by the combination of more than two types of alleles. So here we have this combination and also this combination. Both gives the phenotype A blood group. Here we also have two different combinations. Both gives out B blood group. So we can consider this as the polyalleles. We can consider all as polyalleles because three alleles are considered here. So then we come to an important non-Mendelian inheritance pattern called epistasis. So epistasis is the phenomenon resulting from the interaction between genes at different loci. Here the phenotypic expression of a gene at one locus can be changed due to the interference of another gene at a different locus. So there are two types of epistasis, dominant and recessive epistasis. We will talk about them separately. So we discussed about alleles. Alleles were the alternative versions of genes that resided on the same locus. So if these are same loci, these two can be considered as alleles. But in epistasis, we consider genes at two different loci. So that is the difference. So if we consider this gene at this location, we consider another gene at a different locus. This is gene A, this is gene B. This gene B can affect the phenotype given out by the gene A. So that is what is meant by epistasis. So let's look at the dominant and recessive epistasis. So now we are going to discuss about dominant epistasis. So when a dominant allele at a specific locus alters the expression of another gene at a different locus is known as dominant epistasis. So this can be seen in the plumage of house fowls. This is the cross relevant to the plumage color of the house fowls. So we are considering capital C as the allele responsible for pigments producing color in feathers. And simple C is the allele responsible for absence of pigmentation. That means no color is given out, white color. And then we have the capital I allele, which is the allele that suppresses the expression of color. So this capital I allele is known as the epistatic gene. So this is a dominant allele. This dominant allele is able to suppress the expression of capital C allele, which resides on a different locus. This is the main point of dominant epistasis. And then we have the simple I allele, which is the allele that doesn't suppress the expression of color. So when this allele is present, there is no suppression of color. The color can be expressed. This is the parental generation. First we have white house fowl with double dominant alleles, capital C, capital I. So according to capital C allele, this should have given out colors because capital C allele is responsible for producing colors. But the given phenotype is white. This is because of the epistatic gene is present. Epistatic capital I allele is present, which suppresses the expression of the color. Hence, the phenotype becomes colorless or white. And then, this is the other parental generation, white house fowls with double recessive alleles. Simple C, simple I. Simple C is the allele responsible for absence of pigmentation. So here we have two simple C alleles. Therefore, naturally the plumage is white. Plumage is colorless. So here we also have two simple I alleles. So simple I is the allele that doesn't suppress the expression of color. Simple I allele that doesn't suppress the expression of color. But here we have two simple C alleles. It naturally does not give out any color. So here there is no use of having these two simple I alleles. Okay. And then we write out the gametes. Here 100% capital C, capital I gametes are given out. Here 100% simple C, simple I gametes are given out. Then mating occurs and the F1 generation is obtained. Capital C, capital I, simple I. The phenotype is 100% white house fowls. So we'll check out how the phenotype became 100% white. So how did 100% white house fowls obtained? So here we'll consider this first. So here we have capital C, simple C combination. So capital C is the allele responsible for producing color. So according to this, since capital C is the dominant allele, this should have given out color in the plumage. But then we also have this capital I, simple I. So capital I is the allele that suppresses the expression of color. Since capital I allele is present, no matter what the genotype in here, always the given phenotype would be white. So you should remember that very well. Then we cross the F1 generation with the F1 generation, and then we write out the gametes. Here, according to independent assortment, we have 4 types of gametes: capital C, capital I, capital C, simple I, simple C, capital I, simple C, simple I. So this is the Punnett square drawn in the F2 generation. We have written out all the possible genotypic outcomes. So first we have to consider the presence of capital I allele. So capital I allele is the epistatic gene. So if that is present, no matter what the allele is present here, the phenotype would be white in color. Because what capital I allele does is suppress the function of the capital C allele, which is giving out color. So we have to find out the genotypes with capital I first. So here, this one, 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 this one. So since the capital I allele is present in these, the phenotype would be white in everyone. Okay, so we have filled out those. So we have filled out those genotypes with capital I allele. All would give out the phenotype white, and then we would check out the other genotypes. So here we have capital C allele, which gives out color. It is with the simple I allele. So the simple I allele does not suppress giving out the color. So this would show color. Here also, this is in heterozygous state, but capital C allele is a dominant allele. So this would give out color too, because it is with the simple I allele, which does not suppress giving out the color. So this would be color too. And then we have this. Here also, same condition as this, color. And then this condition. Simple C, simple I. So simple C means it does not give out the color. So this is naturally white in color. So now we have found out all the phenotypes of these genotypes, and now we can write out the phenotypic and genotypic ratios. So now we can write out the phenotypic ratio white to colored. So there would be 13 white colored plumages and 3 colored plumages according to this. So this ratio is different from Mendel's dihybrid cross ratio, which is 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. So this is considered as a non-Mendelian inheritance pattern. So now we are moving on to recessive epistasis. So when a homozygous recessive genotype of a particular chromosomal locus alter the expression of a gene at a different locus is known as the recessive epistasis. Here the term homozygous recessive genotype should be considered. So why is it homozygous recessive genotype? That is because the recessive allele can express their trait only at their homozygous state. They can't express their trait at the heterozygous state because it is a recessive allele. At heterozygous state, dominant allele is able to mask the expression of the recessive allele and give out the dominant trait. So it is very important to write down the term homozygous recessive genotype. So an example for recessive epistasis can be found in the flower color of sweet pea plants or the lathyrus plant. So we can find 2 flower colors there, purple and white. So let's get to the cross. So here capital A and capital B are dominant alleles which are responsible for giving out the purple color. Simple A and simple B are recessive alleles which are responsible for giving out the white color. So let's get to the parental generation. Here we have homozygous purple flowered plants. Fully dominant genotype capital A, capital B, capital B, capital B. So it definitely gives out purple color because purple is given out by the dominant alleles. And then the next generation is homozygous white flowered plants. Completely recessive genotype, simple A, simple A, simple B, simple B. So recessive alleles gives out the white color. So definitely white flowered plants are given. And then we can write down the gametes, 100% A, B gametes. Here also 100% simple A, simple B gametes. And then mating occurs and we can obtain the F1 generation. So here the obtained F1 generation is capital A, simple A, capital B, simple B. 100% purple flowered plants. Though we have the recessive alleles, this is in heterozygous state. So dominant allele is able to mask the expression of the recessive allele and give out their phenotype. So the F1 generation is 100% purple flowered plants. And then we cross F1 generation plant with another F1 generation plant. And then we get these gametes according to independent assortment. Capital A, capital B, capital A, simple B, simple A, simple A, capital B, simple A, simple B. 25% probabilities. So then let's get to the F2 generation. So now we have drawn out the Punnett square for the F2 generation and written out the possible genotypic outcomes. So first of all, since this is the recessive epistasis, we have to consider the key factor. The key factor is homozygous recessive condition. So we have to find the homozygous recessive alleles. So here we can see this is homozygous recessive. Homozygous recessive for A allele or B allele. So this is homozygous recessive for B allele. Again for B, this is homozygous recessive for simple A allele. Again we have here, and here completely recessive. So the recessive allele gives out white color. So here we have two dominant alleles. Here also we have two dominant alleles. Doesn't matter whether these are dominant alleles or not. Since we have homozygous recessive condition, this is able to suppress the two dominant alleles and give out white color. So that is the meaning of the recessive epistasis. So let's write out. This is white. This is white. 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 And all the other genotypes are in completely dominant state or heterozygous state. So therefore purple color can be observed. Since the recessive genotypes can be expressed on the homozygous recessive state. So then we can fill out the other genotypes. Because all the other genotypes gives out the purple color phenotype. And then we can write down the phenotypic ratio purple to white. The ratio after counting we can find out that the ratio would be 9 to 7. So this is also different from Mendel's dihybrid cross, which gives out the ratio 9 to 3 to 3 to 1. Now we are moving on to polygenic inheritance. So polygenic inheritance can be found in inheritance of the phenotypes such as quantitative characters like height, skin color and intelligent quotient or the IQ, which results in a cumulative expression of two or more genes. So let's consider an example and see. So we will consider skin color. So the skin color is determined by a large number of genes. For simplicity, we will consider only 3 genes. So each gene has a dark skin allele contributing 1 unit of darkness to the phenotype. So like this, 1 unit of darkness to the phenotype. Okay, and this is incompletely dominant to the other allele. So if this was an incompletely dominant and completely dominant, we wouldn't have such a variation in skin color. So let's consider few genotypes for this skin color. So here we have completely dominant genotype. So this dominant allele gives out 1 unit of darkness. So here we have 6 units of darkness. So this gives out the phenotype very dark skin color. So here we have 0 dominant allele. Here we have 0 alleles which gives out 1 unit of darkness. So this is the phenotype of a very light skinned person. Have 3 alleles which gives out 1 unit of darkness, but this is lesser than in this, but higher than this. So we say that this has an intermediate skin color. So that if we consider this genotype, we have 2 alleles which gives out 1 unit of darkness. So this has 2 units giving out dark skin alleles. So this only has 2 dark skin alleles. So this is lighter in color than these 2 genotypes, but darker in color than this. So this is a lighter skin color than these 2. Okay. So what we should consider is the number of dark skin alleles present. If the dark skin alleles present are higher, the skin color will also get darker. So here we have 2 dark skin alleles. Here we have 3 dark skin alleles. Here we have 6 dark skin alleles. Here we have none. So data for polygenic character in population may result in a normal distribution curve. So this is a normal distribution curve. So I consider the quantitative character height. So let's consider this is a population of people. We have a lesser amount of very short people, and we have a lesser amount of very tall people. So the most of the people in the population has intermediate characters. Now we are going to talk about genetic linkage or gene. So some genes coding for particular characters are located on the same chromosome and they are close to each other. So like in this instance. Thus they escape from crossing over and independent assortment that occurs during gametogenesis and inherit together. Like this. This results in deviation from Mendel's laws of inheritance. So this phenomenon is known as gene linkage. So let's consider an instance where 2 genes are located on 2 different chromosomes. So in here there's no difficulty for independent assortment. In gamete formation, chromatids get separated and then independent assortment can occur like this, like this, like this and like this. Okay. But in this condition, we get in gamete formation we get a result like this. So in here we cannot do independent assortment because these 2 genes are located on the same chromosome. So this is the instance of crossing over. So in here, since the 2 genes are located far apart, crossing over can occur. But in here, crossing over cannot occur because these 2 are too close to each other. Okay. In linkage, the 2 genes are inherited together like this, GN and GN. Independent assortment cannot occur and crossing over also cannot occur because these 2 are located closer to each other, not far apart like this. So an example for genetic linkage is the inheritance of body color and wing size of the fruit fly Drosophila. So we'll take a look at that. So capital G is the allele responsible for grey body color simple G is the allele responsible for black body color. Capital N is the allele responsible for normal sized wings. And simple N is the allele responsible for vestigial wings. So what Morgan did in his experiment was, first he obtained a heterozygous organism and then did a test cross to it to check whether the same ratio as Mendel's dihybrid cross would be obtained. So you guys know from the second video that Mendel's test cross dihybrid test cross ratio will be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. So here we are going to find out whether this would follow the same path as Mendel's dihybrid test cross. So first there is the parental generation, homozygous wild type, that means grey bodied and normal wings, capital G, capital N, capital A. And then we have the double mutant, black body and vestigial wings, simple G, simple N, simple A. Okay, so we say here double mutant because black body and vestigial wings are considered as mutant characters. These are the wild type characters, grey body and normal wings, while these are the mutant characters. So these are the gametes formed. So since this is gene linkage, the alleles are not separated. We have to indicate that alleles are together. So that's why we are drawing it like this. Here also the same thing, since this is gene linkage, alleles are not separated. We have to draw them as they are together. And then mating occurs and then we get the F1 generation, GGNN. Capital G, simple G, capital N, simple N. So capital G is the allele responsible for grey body color. Since this is heterozygous state, the dominant allele gives out the dominant trait. So here we obtain grey body and then we have capital N and simple N. So capital N gives out normal sized wings. So here this is in the heterozygous condition. So this gives out the dominant trait. The dominant trait is normal sized wings. So normal wings can be obtained. And then we do the test cross. F1 generation plant is crossed with homozygous recessive condition GGNN. So this is what is drawn here. We should always remember during gene linkage, organisms and gametes should be drawn like this, since the alleles are not separated. Okay. So these are the gametes formed. So in the F2 generation, we get these two results: capital G, simple G, capital N, simple N, GGNN, and completely homozygous recessive GGNN condition. So the phenotype ratio is grey body normal wings and black body vestigial wings 1 to 1. So in the Mendel's dihybrid cross, the phenotypic ratio obtained was 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. So in here, the phenotypic ratio obtained is 1 to 1. So we consider this as a non-Mendelian inheritance pattern. So the important feature in genetic linkage is that the parental phenotypes are obtained in the F2 generation also. These two parental phenotypes are obtained. So the parental phenotypes were grey bodied and normal wings and black bodied and vestigial wings. These are the parental phenotypes, and in the F2 generation also we obtain these two parental phenotypes. But other than these two, Morgan also observed these two phenotypes also occur, but in a lesser percentage than these. So these two recombinant phenotypes were also observed, but in a lesser frequency than these. So this shows that occasional breaks in genetic linkage can occur. This is due to crossing over between homologous chromosomes. These are known as the recombinant phenotypes. These are known as parental phenotypes. So this is the end of the genetics part 3 video. I hope you guys got a good understanding about what I discussed today. So stay tuned for the genetics part 4 video. There we will discuss about human sex determination and Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So you guys can try to do the genetics past paper questions now. So questions are asked in a different way than the theory parts. There are MCQs and structured questions where the same theory is applied, but the way is different. So you guys should do the questions and practice how questions are asked rather than only the theory parts. So past papers are a must. So I hope you guys will do them. So goodbye for now.